Something significant is happening in Champions Cup rugby. And it was on my preview video that I did yesterday, one of the wishes that I had for this year's competition, which begins this weekend and is underway now and has been absolutely brilliant. One of my wishes was that a South African team would go deep in the competition. We will wait and see how much that is the case. But what we are seeing this year, no question, is more connection with the competition than we've ever seen before. And that is massive for the competition, which for a number of reasons that I went into on the video that I did yesterday, and I won't go into again, the competition is not at the same level that it was. It doesn't have the same level of prestige, but I absolutely believe when it is best against best, there is nothing that touches the Champions Cup. It is the best standard of club rugby that you can play. And we have seen some incredible matches already and great performances from a couple of the South African teams in the competition who are picking their strongest teams. Away or at home, they are going for it. And that is massive for the competition. And what I can feel happening, although it was still going to take some time, but I can feel it happening, that there is a little bit more of a connection from fans to this competition. It will take some time, but I feel we might be making some progress. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go through a couple of the games that we've seen. I will, towards the end of the weekend, do more of a roundup of the whole round of games, but I just want to touch on this specific element. The games between, the one that's just finished a moment ago, Bulls in Pretoria at home and eventually losing, but what was a massively entertaining game, and the Bulls will be disappointed they sort of tailed off in the second half. So a defeat, but they come away with a bonus point and a lot of credit in the bank, whilst they can definitely be better and will feel frustrated about certain elements. But they went for it. This is a Bulls team, remember, who got to a quarter final and sent a second team on the road. Now, I totally understand why they did that, but it was nonetheless for those of us, I'm in England, but those of us in countries that have, loved the Champions Cup for years, it was obviously, a very surprising and unfortunate thing to happen that you get to a knockout match and don't go for it. But the Bulls seem to be having a crack this year, and they had a proper go at the champions, Bordeaux, and it needed a really, really good performance from Ubebe to come through that one. And then last night, the Stormers away in France. Now, Bayonne have got an amazing home record. Yeah, they didn't have their strongest possible team out, Bayonne, but they still went for it. And at home in front of that crowd, they would have expected that they would have come away with a win. And it's not just the result for Stormers. It's the manner of the result which really, really impressed me. They built a lead. They got out to a lead. Bayonne kind of reeled them back in. And then they showed massive tenacity, guts at the end of it. And it's made me even more excited about another South Africa versus France matchup that I'm going to be there to watch in person. I'm going to be in Port Elizabeth next weekend for the Stormers against La Rochelle. The Stormers going up the coast to the other end of the Garden Route for a special occasion at that stadium, which I've not visited. And I know that it's a massive heartland of South African rugby. It's where, it's Sia Khaleesi's patch, it's Rassie Erasmus's patch, and I'm going to be there next weekend. I cannot wait. I travelled to South Africa on Monday, and it's just made that match against La Rochelle, former two-time champions of the competition, even spicier when you consider how good the matchups between those two teams have been recently. So you don't miss anything from my trip to South Africa. I will be at that game, and then I will also be in Durban for Sharks against the Bulls, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. And getting some sunshine. I've only ever been to South Africa when it's been July or August. So I've packed the factor 50. Don't you worry about that. Let me know your thoughts in the chat down below. Am I right about this? Is there more connection with South African teams and fans to this competition? I really, really hope that is the case. And also, let me just build a bridge between these two countries who, because of the 2023 Rugby World Cup and because of the game that we saw last month, you could be forgiven if you just see the kind of narratives in the media, like there's some sort of animosity or hatred between these two countries. I'm in the middle here. I'm an Englishman who has spent a lot of time in South Africa over the last couple of years, and I've really got to know the rugby culture there. And I've also spent a lot of time in France. It's the two countries I've spent most time in over the last couple of years, rugby and non-rugby, apart from my home country of England. And I love both of them equally. And I love them for the similarities that they share. And I honestly believe quite often there's this notion that, and you know, even in the video I did earlier today when I was talking about the World Cup draw, a lot of the comments have this kind of perceived notion that there is some schism, some split between the North and the South as hemispheres. Honestly, the two most similar rugby countries in my book are France and South Africa. These are two countries where, for massive chunks of the country, rugby is number one. You go to southwest France, around Bordeaux, or Bayonne, or Toulouse, Perpignan. You go to these places and rugby is number one. And there's very few places in the world that is the case. South Africa is another part of the world. And also, who are the two countries on planet Earth? What are the two cultures that love the scrum more than anywhere else? South Africa and France. South Africa, obviously, that they absolutely love the scrum. You can see that with their national team right down to grassroots. With France, their top 14 competition, you have to put the ball in straight. They've introduced that law. World Rugby aren't touching that law. France are, because their fans and their teams love to scrum. And we saw in these games how the power game, as much as the French flair game, and actually the flair from the South African teams too, we saw how the power and brutality came to the fore. So I love South Africa and I love France, and I want to build a little bridge between the two countries on this video. So let me know your thoughts, and let me just run through the matches. Firstly, that one that happened most recently finished, the game in Pretoria. It finished Bulls 33, Bordeaux 46. What a game. It was very much like you score 4, we'll score 5, end to end, try to try. In fact, the first, 6 tries were Bordeaux, then Bulls, then Bordeaux, then Bulls, then Bordeaux, then Bulls. And I think Bulls then scored again. They were 33-22 up at halftime. Was it 4 tries to 3 at halftime? Damien Penaud immediately, straight off the bat with a try. De Kock. So it was the wingers that were scoring as well. Louis Bielbiere. And you had the pure power up front. But then these teams, when they drop the hammer, they can just go. So all of the wingers scored a try in the first half. Kane and Moody got one. The 2 hookers scored a try. Maxime Lamotte and Aka van der Merwe. I always think when I see Aka van der Merwe as well, it's like, what does their milkman look like? Because I'm joking, obviously. You'd never put Duhan van der Merwe and Aka van der Merwe as brothers, apart from the fact they're both amazing rugby players. Ludwig as well got the other try in the first half. And it was end to end amazing. And again, you had the Bulls scrum just going for it. You had the Bordeaux maul going for it. And then wild attacking play on both sides. The second half, it was a very different story. The Bulls' discipline went to pot a little bit. Andre Pollard wasn't able to control the game as much as he could. And a big part of that was the pressure that Bordeaux applied. At one point, the Bulls' bomb squad came on. You had the whole front row, Steenekamp, Grobler and Wilco Low come on, and they looked like they were going to get a bit of pressure on at scrum time. But fair play to Ben Tamifuna. He had a massive impact for Bordeaux coming off the bench, as did Rayassi. What a player he is, the Fijian as well. And probably the impact from Bordeaux, who, to be fair, at altitude, not used to it, they did really well to keep playing that proper attacking game. There were some wild moments in that one. Jalabert try when it was just like end to end to end. And then they had the balance of that maul to do damage as well. So as much as it will be frustrating, I'm sure, for Bulls fans, having been in a position that, 11 points up at half-time, and then to not score another point and concede, 24 unanswered points. That will be frustrating. What I really liked is that the Bulls properly went for it. And they definitely demonstrated that if they take this competition seriously, they can go toe-to-toe. And they will learn. And this is the one cool thing about this competition is the top 14 clubs have the biggest budgets. They have the deepest pockets. They have the best squads. Certainly Toulouse and Bordeaux, that is the case. And with every game that you play against these teams, you will get better at neutralising the strengths that they bring. And with the South African teams getting all the Springbok players generally slowly but surely coming back to South Africa to play, when you get them all out on the park, we're going to have some amazing matches in these competitions. And what I love about the Champions Cup is some of these rivalries, some of these, they build over time, and you don't play these teams very often, so it feels really special. And this felt like best versus best, albeit the Bulls kind of fell off a cliff in terms of their performance in the second half. But it can only add to kind of the rivalry in a really good way, and the camaraderie between fans and nations. The more you get to see and learn about these players, you hear a lot sometimes in a derogatory fashion about French players going to the Southern Hemisphere and they don't do it and they don't play well. You know what? There's a load of fans in Pretoria who have just watched Maxime Lucu, Damien Penaud, Louis Bielbiere, Palu, and Lamotte and Tamifuna, and they get a bit more of a sense about just how good these players are. Let's talk about the Stormers for a second. I was properly impressed by them. And as I say, it makes me very excited to be in Port Elizabeth next weekend. Now, Bayonne did not put out their strongest team. Bayonne will be prioritising the top 14 a little bit more, but make no mistake, they were going for it, and they're at home. And they've got such a proud home record. And the Stormers to go there and win, that's a statement in my book. That is a statement, and that I'm very, very excited when you think about the players they've got to add back into their squad, not least Sasha FM and Damien Filemza. They could be cooking. And Kobus Reinach, of course, although the lad Imad Khan, he looks like a bit of a talent, doesn't he? We know about him now with that try in the first half after Warwick Hallant, and that just amazing breakaway attack. And what I really like was the balance. The Stormers are going to have the ability to score points, score tries, exactly as they showed in that game, and even more so when they get some of their world-class talents back out on the field. But they've got steel. And Mkunu coming in looks potentially game-changing for them. They have got some steel and they have got some guts, and they look really motivated in this competition. And that's what's really cool to see, because the fans will pick up on that. That performances like that from the Stormers will feed the understanding and the passion that fans have when they see the players going out, and what it means to the Stormers players to go and win that in that place. Because make no mistake, I just cannot emphasize it enough. I've been to Bayonne. Actually, Bayonne are my top 14 club. They're the team that I adopted and I've followed, and it is an amazing place to go and play rugby. That Le Peña Bayona, the song that they sing before the match, is one of the coolest things you will find in club rugby. The crowd there are so passionate in the Basque Country about rugby. And actually, Bayonne play quite an attacking style of rugby, but fundamentally, the culture of the Basque Country is about being strong and hard and tough. And that's why they love their scrummage in there as well. So for the Stormers to go to Bayonne and do a job on them up front, that's big. And the way that they won that game as well, they had to overcome a 20-minute red card, which... Another one. It looked to me like Ben Whitehouse doing Ben Whitehouse things, saying that there was a deliberate stamp from Andre Smith. I would have given the guy the benefit of the doubt. And you could see on Andre Smith's face, he was not stamping on the guy's ankle. I mean, you need a higher bar to send someone off for that. Anyway, so they had to do without a player for 20 minutes. They had to come back from being behind, having led. They were in the lead, built a score, got a try, got some pens. Then they lost the lead when they were down a man. But then they just controlled the field and controlled the game and showed guts in that last 10 minutes, tightening the screw with the scrum, which, as I say, culturally in Bayonne, that's a tough thing to go and do. And they squeezed 2 yellow cards from that pressure and eventually managed to convert and get what I think... It's not the best version of Bayonne, but as I say, any Bayonne team that go and play at home in that ground, that's big. So Stormers have started very, very well and given themselves a really good shot. But I think, like I say, even more than that, I am interested, and maybe I'm making putting 2 and 2 together and making 5. But I am hoping that what that demonstrates is that the South African provinces are properly having a go at the Champions Cup, and if that is the case, we could get back the magic of the Heineken Cup that I was talking about on the video yesterday, when we have lots and lots of fantastic teams. And when you get to the knockout stages, it is dynamite. So there's still issues I have with the Champions Cup, but seeing that win for Stormers and seeing the crowd that turned out. I know a lot of people will point to the empty seats at Loftus Versfeld, but I've been there. It's a 50,000 odd stadium. It looked like a decent turnout and a good atmosphere. And actually, for about 45 minutes, the Bulls, I thought they were going to win it. So there we go. A couple of thoughts. Let me know yours, and I will see you on the next video.